What is up, guys? In this one, I'm going to be talking about valuing safety and growth. It's very popular in the self-help community to not like safety. And not like safety is something I got to put in quotes because as humans, we all value our safety, and it's very important to be safe. You only have one chance here at life. You don't want to get hit by a car. You don't want to lose an arm. You don't want to lose an eye. So safety is very important. And when a lot of people get into personal development, they have a tendency to devalue their comfort zone. You have to get uncomfortable. And although that's true, you can only move as fast as your slowest moving parts. That if there's parts of you that simply can't handle what is happening, you have to stay with them in a compassionate, embracing way. In many cases, people can prematurely leave their comfort zone when the wisest thing to do would be to just sit in comfort and not actually have the need to grow, which is already a sign of real growth taking place. Abraham Maslow, the guy who coined the term self-actualization and made the hierarchy of needs, has a fantastic book called Toward a Psychology of Being. And he talked about what a self-actualized person looks like. And self-actualized people, the more psychologically evolved, value not only growth and expansion, but also their security and their rest. In many cases, people are very locked in their comfort zone. I would say this is the case for most people. They don't make it to very high levels of development. They get comfortable somewhere and they stay stuck there in a belief system, in a way of relating, in a specific set of needs, and they don't move past it. They get very attached and identified and very complacent in that area. But this is specifically for people who are looking at personal growth, really, in self-help. And there's a whole sort of hustle mentality that comes with a lot of that stuff, which is not healthy. If you observe yourself, you need far more rest and safety than you actually need growth. You know, how many hours do you sleep a day? And how many hours do you spend taking care of yourself, brushing your hair? I guess I spend a lot of time brushing my hair. But how many hours a day do you spend eating or going to the bathroom, refueling yourself, hygiene, resting, just sitting down, versus an active growth? And I want you to notice that a lot of what you really need is comfort, actually. And you'll be very careful with what I'm saying. It's easy to misunderstand this. I'm not saying comfort to the point where you do not move out of that comfort zone. But what I am saying is getting comfortable to the point where you feel secure moving out of that zone. For example, when I was 4 years old and I went to school for the first time, my dad walked in the kindergarten classroom with me. And I walked up to basically every kid. Hi, I'm Lucas, what's your name? Hi, I'm Lucas, what's your name? And I was very excited to talk to people. I'd never seen so many kids before. And then I turned around and my dad was gone. And my desire to grow and talk and meet new people completely vanished. And I stood there crying. I had no more desire to grow. I only wanted safety. So I could only grow as long as I felt safe to grow. And if I don't feel safe enough to grow, I can't grow. That's just the way it is. You can talk about how you love growth and, screw the comfort zone, but when someone puts a knife to your throat, the comfort zone is looking pretty nice. So I want you to notice that you can only grow when enough parts of you feel comfortable enough to grow. And until then, you have no desire for growth. That's what I'm saying. So each person has a desire to be safe and to grow, both of which need to be valued if you actually want to grow. Both of these drives are equally valid and important for our survival and our flourishing as an individual person in our relationships and as a collective, basically as a species. We need to feel safe enough in order to move up to higher levels of complexity and development. And if we are devaluing our safety and our comfort zone and our status quo, we can't properly go past it. And the status quo can be different for everyone, although for the most part, people in a culture tend to be around the same level. The status quo can still be very different depending on you as an individual and how developed you are. And you personally need to actually value your status quo as a person and feel safe in it and really get a sense of safety in it, so then you can go past it. So this is the importance of valuing safety and growth, because when we start to devalue safety, we don't take a look at it. We start pushing it away. Safety, who cares? Not needed. When actually, safety is the reason why you can grow. I do have to sneeze. Oh, I hope that wasn't too loud in the microphone. Moving on. Self-actualization involves valuing both safety when it is necessary and growth when it is necessary. So we need to develop a moment-to-moment alertness of the present moment, of our feelings, our thoughts, our behaviors, our awareness, really, and be able to adapt to what is needed and what is necessary, and just the context. In many cases, humans are not very good at that because we have a lot of protective tendencies, which is important. But when we start to go past that, we start to get too scared. We get too scared and we don't want to move past that. Which, this is really coming down to the individual person. You have to actually realize that you are very safe in your life. Most likely, if you're watching this video, you have a lot of safety. If you can afford to sit down and watch this, you're very safe, I bet. Odds are, you're very safe in many cases. And only from that place can you take another step forward. And the moment that you start to devalue safety, you begin to become unconscious to how it's playing out in you, to both the upsides and the downsides of safety. Because we have a lot of overprotective mechanisms that create a lot of suffering, really. And then we have a lot of necessary mechanisms, like looking both ways before you cross the street. A good example of an overprotective mechanism is chronic body tension, or basically just chronic, unending body tension that almost everyone has because they were wounded at some point and they got very scared and they held themselves in a certain position to defend themselves against life. Whereas now when you look at your body, you don't really want that. It's not very comfortable to hold yourself in all these rigid positions. Now moving on, in many cases we are overprotective of ourselves and even protect things that don't need to be protected. We have many parts of ourselves that are constantly in protection mode due to unconscious and repressed fear, guilt, shame, anger, and other emotions like that. This prevents us from truly enjoying our life and reaching our full potential. This is building upon my last 2 episodes, which is 1 tip for feeling better and how to investigate emotions and instincts. Now, we actually have to feel safe enough to investigate the things that make us feel unsafe and grow to higher levels of understanding and higher levels of emotional competency and higher levels of overall complexity in our cognitive development, our emotional development, our awareness, even our business, our relationships, our politics, our whatever. Now, a lot of the parts of us that are overprotective are dysfunctional. By definition, they're overprotective. There's not a need to be that protective. And this contributes to a lot of our unnecessary suffering, a lot of our anxiety and worry and anger. A lot of our anger is actually there to defend ourselves and to overpower other people and manipulate and ensure that we are powerful and we get our way. And in some cases it's not. In some cases it's genuinely protective. Someone is crossing your boundary and you get angry and maybe you got to fight them, maybe you don't fight them, maybe they get scared, they back off, they take you seriously, who knows. But when it comes to specifically emotion, we have to really feel safe enough to investigate the root causes of our suffering and our lack of enjoyment in life. And we need to actually be honest enough with what we're feeling, what our state is, how and why this is happening, and how we're creating it, taking responsibility for it, and not shirking our responsibility. I think I used that term correctly. And not projecting it onto other people and saying that my emotional state is your fault, like we usually do, whether we're aware of it or not. And we also have to value moving beyond the confines of our safety and comfort zone while simultaneously valuing our personal protection and boundaries. So we have to value, if we want to grow in a very efficient and healthy way, we have to value moving beyond the comfort zone while also ensuring that we are safe enough to do so. We need to become very adaptive to the present situation and be willing to let ourselves go and grow when it is healthy and necessary, and also be defensive and protective when it is healthy and necessary. And you can very easily determine the difference or sort of distinguish the two, in many cases, just based off how you feel. Like when your body's unnecessarily tense and you can let it go, you're being overprotective. It's toxic. It's a very toxic feeling in your body. Whereas sometimes you might grow, you might be wanting to grow even, and you feel scared. There's fear. But in the back of your mind, you know that you're actually safe doing whatever it is you're doing, whether it's, for a very basic example, walking up to a new person and talking to them, maybe a bit of anxiety, but in the back of your mind, you know, whether this person likes me or not, I'm actually safe and my life isn't on the line. I don't have to be so tense and rigid and scared. It's not that big of a deal. Really, it's not. So this video is about valuing the importance of both safety and growth and how they relate to each other. We're analyzing the relationship between safety and growth. Now, when we feel unsafe, we simply can't grow. And in many cases, our overprotectiveness makes us feel far more unsafe than we actually are. And we actually have to be very honest with when we are being overprotective. And in a lot of cases, we actually are. Your body tension being another. It's just a prime example of this because it's just in your direct experience and you can sense that, what is this tension doing? Like it's shielding me from the outside, from people, from even my own feelings, from situations, but I don't need a shield. What I would prefer is to feel very intimate with everything in my experience, very open to it. Because that feels a hell of a lot better than being closed and scared of it. So we have to be very honest about our states, about when we're feeling what and why, and really how we should go about handling it. In many cases, we have a sort of knee-jerk reaction to stay put when it's dysfunctional. And we also have a knee-jerk reaction to move forward when it's dysfunctional. We need to make sure that we're standing on solid ground before we're moving forward, which is very important for the well-being of a person, because if we grow too fast, what's going to happen inevitably is our slower moving parts of ourselves are going to get very scared and worked up, and it'll be like 2 steps forward, maybe 3 steps back, or 2 steps forward, maybe 2 steps back. And a lot of the times when you are growing yourself, you'll notice that you take a few steps forward, maybe you take 2 or 3 steps forward and then 1 step back, which is pretty normal. That's a very normal thing. But it's when we try and do too much, too quick, trying to force ourselves to grow, when number 1, that's a very uncomfortable state to be in, and number 2 always leaves us regressing even further back and really never being worth it. So valuing both safety and growth is very deeply wise if you plan on developing yourself at all, and is completely necessary for your actual well-being as a human being. And other than that, if you have any questions, comment them in the comment section below. And other than that, take it easy.